How buoyant is the American economy?
I do think it is pretty buoyant. Remember, when we entered this quarter, there were a lot of concerns around not only global growth, but also the US economic outlook. And with the inversion of the yield curve, albeit temporary, that also sort of added to those fears. And while I understand that if you look into some of the detail of the Q1 GDP number, you can say that there were some elements which will fade into the second quarter. I think bottom line is that the US economy still got decent momentum. I think it's still going to be posting, 2.5% growth through this year, and unemployment's going to continue to tick down.
Marc Chandler, the litmus paper for this is the U.S. dollar. I've got a chart here. Throw the chart up right now. I don't have a banner for it, but we'll throw it up, Jamila. This is a Bloomberg dollar index, and it breaks out as just above one standard deviation on the trend back. There's a little bit of a dollar lift here. Do you ascribe that as a dollar breakout, or is it before we get the final weak dollar that everyone's calling for?
I'm still in the strong dollar camp, but what concerns me is what we saw on Friday was really a buy the rumor, sell the fact. That is a dollar rally that broke out before we had the GDP. And I think to the point is that the GDP was better than people expected, but the details suggested that growth was, consumers were cut in half and inflation fell in half. And so that's what I think sets up the stage for this week's FOMC meeting.
David, overall, where do you see dollar from here? So we had dollar strength. Can that continue, or are we going to see the president trying to scupper that?
Well, I think you're right to highlight that there is a limited appetite for a strong dollar, and I think the fact that sort of currency arrangements seem to be a feature of all the various trade negotiations that the Trump administration engages in with other countries. That being said, I think from a market point of view, it's all about the relative outperformance in growth terms of US versus the rest of the world. So long as that remains the case, and I think the dollar is going to be bid, if we start getting some pickup in European economic data in particular, I think that will give a bid to the euro, and then I think we move into maybe a somewhat softer dollar regime. But we're not there yet.
Marc, do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I think that this is what's really happened is that this divergence story, which I've really been pushing, has probably reached a logical conclusion for the near term. That is, the strength of the U.S. economy is well known. We got it validated by the GDP number. And I think that the data probably overstates the case, while in Europe, I think that we're going to see some somewhat better numbers. I think that we'll see prices pick up, and we're going to get that GDP number later this week.